Now, I hear a lot, and I've actually stopped listening. What I focus intentionally on is what you're doing. Not what you're saying or what you know. I'm focusing on what you're doing. You're either not doing it, you've started doing it, or you're exceeding in doing it. And in most cases, a lot of those who talk these constructs of values and elicit these elements of integrity, it's the day of local government elections in South Africa. It's the day that I'm about to step out the door and I'm going to go and cast my right for self-determination. And I use that very appropriately in this situation because I think we've missed and forgotten what these elections enable us to do. What they enable us to do is to have the right of self-determination and define those who are going to be contributing and participating to the kind of determination that we want. And this is what was fought for many, many years ago by freedom fighters who gave their lives. Because as you know, again, quite simply put, prior to 1994, as a black person in South Africa, you had no rights to self-determination. You had no rights to be able to put out there what it is that you as a citizen would expect from your government. Government told you what you were going to do, and you had to live and abide by it. We must never forget that. The blanket of independence that we live under is a consequence of people who gave up their lives to give us the opportunity to go out today and do what we're doing. So when one doesn't do that, just appreciate that there's a context of responsibility. I always say that your right to vote is a right, but it's a responsibility. It's a responsibility that you have to partake in, and it's a responsibility that you have to participate in. I don't believe that you have the right not to, because then I do think that it kicks in the teeth of the people who gave you the very right to be able to go out and do this, when you say, well, my right now that you've sacrificed your life is not to do it. Also a bit too close, too soon. We're not 200, 300, 400 years down in our democracy. The people who have given up their lives and as a result of the consequences of that still walk within the very streets that we are familiar with and still live in our homes and are still the parents of some of our friends. So just remember that when it comes to this right of self-determination, that it was brought to us by people who believed that we had the right to it, and we should treat that right as a responsibility. The other thing I normally say is that democracy is not a spectator sport. It's not something you stand on the sidelines, cheering about, and then when things are not going your way, complaining about. If you have not participated in the sport, you have no right to complain. It's as simple as that. You just take what you're given and live with it. And then you go back to pre-1994 days. So you're caught between a rock and a hard place. You can't not participate but expect certain results. But when you do participate, you can vocalize as much as you like the intent that you had, which may not be coming into fruition. And then 2-3 years down the line, you have the opportunity again to exercise what it is that you need to exercise in order to ensure that your right of self-determination is taken into consideration. And those on the other side quickly learn that their seat is a hot potato, that very quickly, as much as they've just managed to sit down, they're going to be up again, because the electorate is now defining the expectations of those in office, so that those in office are aware that if you want to spend time in that chair, you better deliver. And that's the kind of culture that I think we need to inculcate. Not one of sitting in the corridors and whining and complaining, one of participating. So having said that, because we're having this discussion around this time of year in terms of casting our votes and determining our rights of self-determination, I think one of the things that I'd like to talk about is this construct of integrity, that once put into positions of responsibility, we have an expectation that those in those positions of responsibility fulfill those obligations with the highest levels of integrity that could be expected. So what is integrity? Because right now with electioneering and right now with all the politics, and what will continue to happen, by the way, in the 2nd of November, is a lot of politicking and a lot of conversations, but we miss the foundations of this high level of integrity. What is integrity? Well, we're all aware that, one of the constructs of integrity is people knowing what is the right thing to do. And I assume by virtue of you being in or putting yourself in the position of candidacy of political office that you know what the right thing is to do. But that's not integrity. That's a value that we can associate to you because you articulate it. And we go, well, because he says so, therefore he must believe in that value. That's the second part, which is the saying. He knows what to do and he says what it is that he's going to do or what he knows that he's going to do. And again, that too in itself is not a value. It's not integrity. It's a component and an ingredient of integrity, but not, the cake's not baked yet, right? So the cake's not baked by knowing what the right thing is to do. And the cake is certainly not baked by you saying what the right thing is to do. Again, saying just articulates even more the sense of what you know and gives us awareness that you are familiar with that value system. It's the third bit that seems to sweep people off their feet because it's not as easy. And that is not knowing what to do, not saying what to do, but doing the thing that you need to do. So that's a principle. It's doing the right thing. Now, I hear a lot and I've actually stopped listening. What I focus intentionally on is what you're doing. Not what you're doing, not what you're saying or what you know. I'm focusing on what you're doing. And the measurement of what you're doing is 0 to 5, sometimes even 0 to 3. You don't want to give it so much rope because, what's a 6 out of 10 in doing is partially doing, not quite doing, no. You're either not doing it, you've started doing it, or you're exceeding in doing it. And in most cases, a lot of those who talk these constructs of values and elicit these elements of integrity, they're very much at a 1, not even off the mark. As a matter of fact, I'd even put the fact that they could be negative scoring because there is a deterioration of the implications or even the impact of what it is that you are doing and saying over time. And we're seeing this. So I think that high levels of integrity are going to be required in office for those who are going to be taking up those seats. And it is our responsibility as the electorate to ensure that when they take up those seats, that in the next 5 years, they are fully aware of the fact that if they are not actually active on those seats the way they should be, then that seat is going to be a very hot seat for them in terms of their ability to continue sitting. So we need to ensure that we are participating in our democracy and not just spectators. And we need to ensure that we are putting forward exactly what we require from an integrity point of view, which is not just hearing what you're saying, not just hearing what you think you know about what it is that should be said and done, but watching what you're actually doing. So I wish you the best in terms of the future as we go into a new dawn of local government elections with what will probably be a new set of leaders, and let us ensure that they deliver to us according to our right of self-determination in terms of what our expectations are for our country. Visualize with Vic. Thank you for joining me. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to click on the notification tab so that you're aware when we are actually uploading this for you. Thank you for being with me.